Vodacom is majority owned by Vodafone, one of the world's largest mobile companies. The company has operations in South Africa, Tanzania, the DRC, Lesotho and Mozambique. Vodacom has a market cap of 162.5 billion rand, a price to earnings ratio of 14 and a dividend yield of 6.3%. So is there the same level of conviction when it comes to Vodacom, Sasha Narishkin?
In our portfolios, in our client portfolios, we've typically held this in the high yielding portfolios, so people who are looking for yield. And the whole idea is that if you're alongside the 65% shareholder in the form of Vodafone, they're going to extract as much cash as they can along the way. I think again we'll cast our minds back to kind of 2010 when voice started to go kind of static. You know, people weren't making any more voice calls. Again, you've seen a big surge in data revenue. The only question marks are those geographical shackles that were actually imposed on them by Vodafone. But here's the interesting part: because Vodafone have all these other businesses in Africa, what's not to say we could see a Barclays type transaction where Vodafone say, okay, these high growth assets in Africa, we're going to inject them all into Vodacom South Africa and they're going to run it from there.
Well, yesterday we had Levan Gopal shooting down the Barclays transaction.
Too keen on that one.
Very angry about that transaction. Hopefully a different kettle of fish here. From a Vodacom perspective, are you equally as enthusiastic?
I still like the stock. I think that the dividend yield is still good. They've also had a pullback that you've seen in the last few weeks. So that yield is looking quite good if you get it at the right level. So, and I think it's something you can have in your portfolio. And there is a potential for growth. So even though they are on the voice side starting to lose revenue, smartphones are also getting cheaper and cheaper. So you don't need to have a top of the range smartphone for 10,000 Rand. You can do a lot of data and a lot of smartphones that are only like now 1,000 Rand. So it's starting to broaden into the market of how much data you can get. So we still think it's going to pay good dividends for the next few years and it will be relatively stable. So I don't think you'll get the growth of MTN, but still something that I would have in the portfolio.
You took us back to Alan Not Craig, Peter Ace, of course now Peter Ace, Shamil Yusuf. How do you feel about the new management team coming in?
He's not exactly new. I mean, he spent some time, I think, at Vodafone in Spain, and he was at Vodacom before that. So it's not exactly as if he's a new person. I think when Alan Not Craig, when they first launched Vodacom in 1994...
But he is a new manager.
He's a new manager,
CEO.
but he's well known.
I have to come back and argue with you.
Yeah, but he's well known in
absolutely from within the group.
Peers.
So too was Peter Ace. He came through the Vodacom fold.
Exactly.
We
so
know
you get
that
the
is their continuity. They like to take their boys from inside and put them at the top. Agreed.
100%. So I think interestingly, I mean, nobody realized the growth potential for the mobile handset in Africa. Alan Not Craig, when the business was launched in '94, said he saw scope for 250,000 mobile phones maximum. Now we've got more connections in South Africa than we have people, indicating a level of churn. So I think in South Africa the churn rate is somewhere as high as 20 to 25%. That's what I heard the Levy brothers say, but we'll come to Blue Label a little bit later. So there is a certain amount of churn, and it's all who's offering what. Interestingly, there's the Alan Not Craig connection now with the other player, and less spoken about player in the South African market, Cell C, which probably is a little bit of a threat to these guys.
Still haven't given me any indication of whether you like Shamil. You've said it.
I do.
Great, thank you. And Rob, from your side?
Yeah,
but do you believe the company's in safe hands?
It is in safe hands. Maybe they need, in the future of another 3 or 4 years when that growth goes into Africa and they do expand, they might need somebody a bit more dynamic in how they, somebody totally new, rather than just in the ranks.
Somebody with Africa experience.
With more Africa experience, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think those shackles are going to remain as long as Vodafone has the majority shareholding, and they're not going to be able to expand. I think the DRC represents a fantastic opportunity because there you probably have one of the most messed up countries on the planet, but with enormous mineral reserves, a very young population, and could immediately make headway if they found some way to be a little bit more civil towards each other and not, warmongering.
So if they get it right, this could be the kicker in the group.
I think DRC could be possibly the biggest growth story across the continent. It just unfortunately is at a level now where, and of course remember they had shareholder fights there in the DRC, so not without their controversy, but I think batting on what is an exceptionally flat track, if we can use a cricket terminology.
Go ahead. Any cricket terminology is favoured in this show. Hot or not, Rob?
I'm still hot on Vodacom.
Hot or not?
Yes, still hitting sixes. Hot.